For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
Daredevil Born Again Episode 4 is finally here, and oh boy, I would just like to start off by saying I was right. I'm very proud of myself. um, and because last time I did say that Episode 4 is probably going to be the episode where they tease Frank's return, or we see Frank, and then Episode 5 will be his episode. And, I thought about this since the beginning because episodes 5 and 6 will both release on the same day. And it wouldn't be episode 5. I mean, it wouldn't be episode 6 to, be Punisher's episode. That wouldn't make sense. They need to keep the weight. So, I'm very happy with myself on that one. But also, I would just like to add, I said last week that if that video got 100 views, I would do a weekly review of each episode. And yeah, you guys definitely delivered. So, episode 4, we begin on a horrific note where we see the evidence, because like White Tiger's mask, his amulet, which, by the way, I refuse to believe that nobody wanted to take the amulet, because they made it very clear. I mean, Matt literally said it in court that the amulet gives him, like powers and things. Well, not power, but like increased speed, strength, whatever it was. And you're telling me that nobody, literally nobody took that. I don't know about that. But yeah, so that is where we then meet Hector Ayala's niece, who I believe is meant to be White Tiger in the comics. She's the main White Tiger that I see everyone talk about, except obviously in this show, she is very, 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 very young. So she'll probably end up with the necklace, or the amulet, sorry, at some point, and then maybe later on, if we get like a Young Avengers, which pretty crappy lineup so far, but if we do ever get something like that, we will probably get her as White Tiger. That would be so, so cool. And just after this, we get introduced to probably the most terrifying design I have seen for a Marvel character. Gore looked cool, but only in certain lighting. But Muse looks fucking terrifying. Like, nah, just no. That, what the fuck is that? Oh my god, that is. Oh, it's such a disgusting design. Well, not disgusting, but it's such a creepy design. I love it though, because it reminds me of Michael Myers from Halloween 2, where he gets the blood tears because he was shot in both eyes. But yeah, and then of course we see Muse at the end of the episode where he just like is taking the blood out of that guy, which, oh boy, I know what Muse does in the comics, and I am really interested to see how much of that they're gonna show in this show. Show in the show, wow. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what they're gonna do with that. But yeah, I do think that it is the guy from Wednesday. I forgot his name. I'm sorry, I forgot the actor's name. But the guy that went to Heather for help in a previous episode, I think that it's him. It could very well be him. But yeah, your guess is as good as mine, guys. But let's just talk about the best scenes of the episode. And that's everything involving Wilson Fisk. Because god damn it, man. This guy, he's been through hell. I'm saying that now. So, in the beginning of the episode, well, I say the beginning, but like the first time we see him, he's in that like really run down, horrific, like ugly place. And he's like, I want it fixed, a complete overhaul. And Sheila is like, there are steps to doing this. We have to do this, do this, do this, do this. And you just see him kind of smiling and nodding and looking all confused. It's so, so good. Just seeing him trying to control himself. It is so hilarious. But I mean, come on. As far as Kingpin moments go, like we all know what the best part of this series so far has been, and that is watching him listening to the children singing. What? My, he has, he looks like he's so uncomfortable and just wants to leave. I think he'd rather deal with Daredevil than deal with these children because, for God's sake, his face was hilarious. I mean, him standing up and clapping was funny, but man, when the woman said, and now for this next one, he just. I'm sorry I'm laughing so much, but it's hilarious just thinking about it. His eyes just go so wide open, and he's like, oh no. Oh God, I'm sorry. I had to talk about that first, but yeah. Then there was the other scene. Actually, it. Oh no, 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 no. The first time we see him is in with Heather, and they, having another meeting with Heather, him and Vanessa, and I love how they kind of beat around the bush with Adam. I find that so hilarious, the way how when Heather asks like, oh, what kind of interests, and they both just go business. And when she asks, and where is Adam now? They both go, I don't know. It's so good, and the way that Fisk like uses uses certain wording to describe what happened, it's so good. Like he says, we had a dialogue. And they ask like what kind of dialogue, and he says a clarifying one. It's so good. You can tell that the persona of Mayor Fisk is slowly start that mask is beginning to crumble, and Kingpin is beginning to come through again. And my God, it is so good to have Kingpin be the way he was in the original Daredevil show. I say that because now there is genuinely a bit of fear that I feel when he is on screen. A little bit, not as nowhere near as much as in the original show. In that original show, Kingpin is the scariest villain in all of Marvel. But here, it's beginning to creep through again, that sort of unpredictability. Basically, what I don't like about Homelander, because Homelander is just such a shitty villain. I'm sorry, he's so boring. But with Kingpin, that unpredictability and instability, lack of stability, whatever the hell you want to call it, that genuinely makes him a threat, an intimidating character. So I'm happy to see that Kingpin is starting to return, and of course that is mirrored by Matt slowly returning to Daredevil. But I'll talk about that just now. Let's just finish with the Kingpin stuff first. One thing I also love about the therapy scene, apart from the comedy there, is we actually get to learn a little bit more about Vanessa because we didn't actually know anything about her. Genuinely, within 3 seasons of Daredevil, not that this is a knock against the show. I mean, we didn't really need to know much about her, but all we knew about Vanessa was that she worked at that art gallery place, and that she was, like the fascination of Wilson Fisk, that he just loved her. That's really all she ever was. Yes, of course, she ordered the kill of Agent Nadim, but apart from that, we knew nothing about her. And here we learned a lot. We learned that her father was absent a lot of the time, and that, that would, of course, affect her mother horrifically, and that she refused to be like her mother, to be, kind of pushed down. And I really enjoyed that. Just hearing her explain that, it really put things into perspective because, of course, you know, Wilson just left. He just left her. It feels weird calling him Wilson. But yeah, she had nobody. She had no one. So she had to be independent. And I really, really enjoyed that because it shows how much it hurt her. It's not just, oh God, she's being dramatic. No, the way that they explain it, it feels realistic. And I thought that it was just explained brilliantly. So yeah, this episode really made me love Vanessa more. And of course, another standout scene with Kingpin is when they start singing the same song but in Latvian, and you just see his face go, "Oh shit! Please, just oh my god, just kill me! I'd rather die than listen to this." And then it hard cuts to him just shouting at everyone, and I love that hard cut. I thought it was brilliant. And then of course he's being like, whoever leaked this, I will rip your head off. I mean that's what he was thinking, but it's not definitely not what he said. And then Daniel actually steps up. He's like, I did it, sir. I'm sorry, and he takes full accountability. And I love that Fisk was able to control himself there. I loved that. Because, of course, it's no secret that Kingpin has anger issues, right? And I just loved how you saw that fury in his eyes, his face of anger, where he was like, you could see him visibly like exhaling like an animal. And it just slowly calmed down to him being more annoyed as opposed to pissed off. And that's when he's like, loyalty and courage and things like that are very difficult to come across. But then that end of the conversation, that tail end of the scene, again, much like earlier, you see the old Kingpin kind of creep through, where he's like, if you ever do anything like that again, it will be the last thing you ever do. And you see Sheila in the back, and she's like, oh shit, he means that. This guy's a murderer. Like, she's beginning to clock it now that this is Kingpin. That ain't Mayor Fisk that's saying that. That is Kingpin. And I'm so interested to see if that's actually gonna play a part in it, or if that's just gonna go nowhere, really. But I doubt it'll go nowhere, let's be honest. And then, of course, there's the ending, which I really like that, that final scene of him, because I was very confused as to where the staircase was coming from, because I thought, because Matt was sitting, he was lying in bed, and I just saw this person walking down the stairs, and I was like, oh my god, he's imagining Hector. But then I was like, they forgot to add the flowers in his hand. How did they forget that detail? And then it zooms in, and I'm like, oh shit, it's Fisk. So that was really stupid of me. But then, before we even see that Adam is still kept prisoner, which, by the way, reasonable. Okay, like, why? How stupid do you have to be that you would willingly go for the wife of a man who used to be so feared that people would kill themselves before they, walk off after saying his name? I mean, that was insane. You're really, really stupid and a real dumbass, really. So, yeah, reasonable crash out by Kingpin there. And I love that he's eating properly. Like he obviously he was on a diet. I mean, Daredevil literally says it. He's like, you've lost weight, you gain muscle, and you can really see it that Kingpin is so small in this show. But Vincent D'Onofrio did say a while ago that he will be gaining weight for Daredevil Born Again season 2, and this is the beginning. This is the beginning. Kingpin is beginning to eat how I eat now. No more egg whites. There's prawns, there's sausages, there's everything. And of course, he's eating it in front of Adam. And I just love that. I'm really, really interested to see how big they're gonna make Kingpin. Because, of course, they can't just have Vincent D'Onofrio gain, like, a ridiculous amount of weight. It's gonna, it might get to the point where he'd have to wear a fat suit, but hopefully not. I just want him to look the way he did in the original show, or hell, even the size he was at Hawkeye, because the way that they shot him in Hawkeye was genius. Like when him and, I know this is unrelated, but when him and Eleanor are speaking, the camera is like pointing down at Eleanor, but when it's focusing on Fisk, it's like on the table level and it's looking up at him. So it makes him look way bigger than he actually is, and it is genius. But Anyway, uh, after 15 minutes, that is everything to do with Kingpin. And now let's get to Matt Murdock. And, beginning the episode, solid. Because we get a guy who was arrested for literally just a petty crime. I mean, he stole like 5 boxes or something. I forgot what it was. And this was a really good interpretation of what someone who gets a blind lawyer would definitely act like. They'd be like, "Oh, of course I get the freaking blind dude." That's what anyone would think usually. And throughout that entire first scene where him and Matt are talking, you're like, "Oh my God, dude, just you should be grateful that you're gonna get like 10 or 20 days. What the hell is wrong with you, you ungrateful idiot?" But then when Matt comes back and he's like, you get 10 days, you get such an amazing monologue from that guy. And I forgot his name, but I'm so sorry. But it was such a brilliantly written scene because he's obviously stating exactly what the issues are. He's saying that he obviously lost his benefits and he was reduced to just eating out of garbage dumpsters, begging for food, begging for money. And and then the line that really I think got everyone here was when he said they're willing to spend 5 times more to lock me up than they are to feed me. That was such a sad factual line. I really, really felt that. And it just goes to show that this is easily, so far, okay, for the first 4 episodes, this is better written than most of the Disney Plus shows Marvel has made. Most of them, because these 4 episodes have just been exceptional. They really, really have. And I think one thing that really proves that is we are 4 episodes in and we haven't seen Daredevil, you know, basically the entire show. We only got that one scene of him in the beginning. Apart from the opening of episode 1, we did not see Daredevil, and I am still hooked with this show. And I think that might just be because I actually prefer Matt Murdock to Daredevil. He's like the only superhero where I actually prefer his civilian form as opposed to him in superhero form. But yeah, I really, really enjoy that. And even like the little conversations, like he had one with Heather where she was like, "Oh, I could tell you everything about everyone, but then I'd have to kill you." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Really? You're not gonna break the contract, are you?" But no, yeah, genuinely, I really, really enjoyed all the little scenes with Matt in the beginning. But there's obviously the scene which everyone was excited to see, and it did not disappoint in any aspect. And that was Matt reuniting with the Punisher, with Frank Castle himself. And oh boy, this was one of the best scenes from any piece of Marvel television ever. Because my god, the dialogue here, we need to break down the dialogue just by itself. By the way, before I get into the actual dialogue, of course, Matt does find the bullet, or sorry, the shell casing, should I say? And I know that there's people who are saying, "Oh my God, really? He could feel the logo?" And I know that you're probably, hell, there's probably people watching this who are thinking the same thing. He's like, "Oh God, he can't feel the logo." But to be honest with you, this isn't out of the question because, of course, it's no secret that when blind people, their other senses are heightened, and of course, not to the extent that Matt's is, but there are actually people who are blind in real life who are able to I was going to say play cards, but I guess that's from John Wick 4. We will use that John Wick 4 scene as an example, right? Kane was able to put his hands over the cards and he could actually feel what cards they were. So there are people who are blind who are able to, feel things to that extent. Their sense of touch is that heightened that they could actually do that. So, and as of course, Matt, well, I don't really need to explain, but Matt, of course, his senses are more heightened than anyone. And that, I think, just further proves that it's not really unbelievable that Matt could feel the bullet. I mean, could feel the logo on the shell. So, yeah, just letting you know, so y'all don't think this is some sort of ridiculous, out of the question thing from the show. There's so many things that I loved about this interaction between Matt and Frank. And one thing that I have to just commend is Charlie Cox's acting, because there's so many times throughout the scene where you just see Matt smiling. Obviously, Matt smiling is nothing new, but in this scene, you could see that he was just smiling through the pain. Every time Frank was like, say his name, you coward, every little thing Frank said, it was just eating away at him. And you could see him just trying to smile through it. But it just didn't work. It didn't work. And I'm loving that Punisher is kind of in this horrible situation. I know it's not really nice to be happy that our one of our favorite characters is in the situation, but you can just see how untidy, unkept, just horrific he is, how his life is. And I love that he, of course, that's the difference between Daredevil and Punisher. Punisher kills, Daredevil doesn't. And of course, the rooftop sequence from Daredevil season 2, that was still probably the best dialogue exchange from anything Marvel has made. And this scene kind of reiterates that, because Frank is like, I tried your way and look where that got me and look where he is. I love that so much. The kind of callback to that scene. Oh my god, the writing of this episode. And hearing Frank call him Red, I was like, oh my god, yes! I was so excited by that. The same way I got excited by when Fisk said, when I was a boy. It's like, oh my god, they really, really paid attention with this episode. The scene is just brilliant, because you hear, like Frank say things like, "What about your friend? You saved his life." And Matt, he just says, I mean, as I said, Matt's like, it's not about him. It's not about him. He won't say Foggy's name. And that is so, so real. I love that. And then, of course, Frank reciprocating, where, he's like, you hear him, don't you? Because I hear my little boy. When he said that, my heart just broke, because I just remember still feeling Frank's pain from season 2 of Daredevil and everything that happened with his family. And I was in tears. Actually, I had to pause it so that I could, like, kind of get myself back together, because goddamn, that bit of dialogue was just brilliant. It's amazing when we get those small little bits of, I wouldn't say humanity, but the little bit of softness from Frank occasionally, because obviously he's badass, he's the Punisher, but it's just when those little bits of humanity creep through, it really is heartbreaking. I loved that scene. And it's just, when he does, just before he says that, you just see Matt starting to break down. You just see that smile is gone. You can see him crying and everything like that. And it just really, really hits you. Because apart from the end of the end, apart from the beginning of the first episode, maybe, Matt was just kind of being himself throughout the whole series, smiling, being charming, of course, getting all the ladies as he usually does. But just seeing Matt break here, like when he just turns and smacks Punisher, and when he's crying and everything, it really is just, it makes you think, about really what he went through, and I think it was just genius. And hearing the Frank say, I know that guilt, I feel it too, and Matt just says, even through what he's feeling, he's saying we'll let the system handle it, and Frank is like, your goddamn system. And that's when he actually calls Bullseye by his name. He says Bullseye. No one has ever called him Bullseye yet, because always just called him Agent Poindexter. And that, well, not Agent Poindexter. So hearing him actually call him Bullseye was pretty cool. And yeah, just him using that against Matt, Matt not really believing in the system, but just hoping it'll work. Frank just diminishing that small bit of hope, with him saying that Bullseye breathes, he's there, he's breathing the same air as you. How does that make you feel? And Matt is just like, he got life, he shouted it, and you felt the pain in his voice. This sequence, I honestly think it might be better than the rooftop sequence. I don't know, but it's definitely on the same level, if not very, very close, because just the emotions that both actors bring here. Not to say that they didn't give it their all in the rooftop sequence. I mean, that's what makes that sequence so good. But this scene, it just hits so hard in a completely different way. And then, the scene kind of just ends how it began. Matt just smiling, and, him being like, Foggy, both of us, people like us, we couldn't, measure up to half of his decency. He was one of the best human beings I ever knew. And it really did hit, because I said it when I reviewed the first two episodes, that I really hated that they killed Foggy in the beginning. I feel like that was a really stupid decision, and really is probably my only negative with the show. I think that they should have let us, kind of get back with these characters, because of course, yes, there's a lot of people who went and rewatched the entirety of Daredevil for this release. But you gotta bring us back into this universe. Let us breathe with these characters again. Killing Foggy was such a stupid decision, in my opinion. But the way that they talk about him here, it actually had more of an emotional impact than Foggy's actual death scene. So, yeah, I know I said actual is twice there. I'm so sorry, but yeah, it genuinely made me feel more, like it made me feel sadder. And then that's the end of that beautiful, beautiful sequence, where we get essentially the end. I don't know why I'm saying essentially, where we get the ending of the episode. Of course, I already spoke about the Muse scene, but the episode ends with both Fisk's and Matt's old personalities slowly returning, because this is where we actually do get, the scene of, like the reveal of what happened to Adam, because a lot of us kind of just assume that he's dead, but nope, we see that he is in a cage and everything, and we're like, yep, that's the Kingpin that we knew. And then, probably more goosebumps is just Matt looking at all his helmets and getting his bully club and training himself again on that rooftop. I was just like, holy shit, let's fucking go. Because, again, I love the show. We haven't gotten Daredevil for 3 episodes, almost 4. And I don't care, because I love it. I'm hooked with every episode. But now seeing Daredevil return, and it's goosebumps. It's chilling. That's what it is. And I think this is where we're gonna get the mural of Daredevil where it says "Born Again." Whenever we do get Daredevil's return, I think that is gonna be an absolute banger of an episode, and it's probably gonna be episode 5. Let's be honest. But yeah, I just love it, because especially that the original sequence in, I think, episode 1, that where Matt and Kingpin were just kind of talking, and they're both like, oh, yeah, we both turned over a new leaf, but if you go back to your old ways, I will, there will be consequences and things like that. And well, they're both going back to their old ways. I love that. It is such a genius piece of writing, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited for the rest of the season, because not only is it this season to look forward to, but it's season 2 as well, because they are clearly very confident with this show. where they are filming season 2 as we speak. And I'd also just like to add that today marks 9 years since season 2 of Daredevil released, and it's just so fitting that Frank Castle, well, not Frank Castle, that John Bernthal returns as the Punisher exactly 9 years after his debut. I love that. That is, I don't think they thought, I don't know if they thought about that, but it was just so good to see that, just everywhere on social media, everything. The Punisher, made his debut 9 years ago. That was crazy. And then on top of that, we did get, a few little more details about the Punisher special of, where John Bernthal is like, yeah, Frank is not going to be holding back in the special. This is going to be a, Frank doesn't give a fuck kind of special. And I'm like, holy shit, that sounds awesome. And then the last thing that I'm going to mention is this beautiful poster for the Punisher, which was released today. Oh my god, I'm so happy that Frank is back, baby. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I preferred this or episode 3, but I'm really gonna need your guys' opinions on this episode because I don't see how anyone can watch this and just not be happy. This was such a great episode, and I'm so excited to see where it's going. But yeah, please let me know your thoughts on this new episode of Daredevil Born Again. Do you think that this is the best episode they've had of the show so far? And, were there any things that you perhaps weren't so much of a fan of? Because honestly, I'm just going to sit back and let them cook and wait for next week when we get 2 episodes. 2! Oh my god! Bring it on, baby. But yeah, please just let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this episode, on the show in general, anything and everything. Please let me know down in the comments section below. And yeah, I think that is pretty much it. So if you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.